Welcome to the Changemakers Podcast, produced by City Current and powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show shares personal stories and insight from those who are leading by example, fueling positive change and making a difference so we can learn and do the same.
We cover life lessons, business advice, passion, and purpose.
Now here's your host, Jeremy Park.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the Changemakers Podcast. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.
Welcome to the Changemakers Podcast, produced by City Current, powered by Higginbotham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. On this episode, we're going to be talking about engineering, community service, and city building. We're going to talk about family, faith, so much more. We're honored to have our good friend, Mike Pohlman. He's the CEO of Pickering Firm, recently announced his retirement, so we're going to talk all about that as well in the chapters ahead. But Mike, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. And thanks for having me on. And this is kind of exciting. You said you announced my retirement. It's upcoming retirement. I still have 4 months that I got to earn a living here. So that's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Well, when you talk about good stuff, service, good work, giving back, there's a lot of through lines to dive into. But the fun of Changemakers is we get to know you personally. So we talk about your childhood and a lot of lessons learned. So tell us about your hometown and where you grew up, Mike.
Okay. Well, my hometown is Cincinnati. I'm one of 7 boys born to Ray and Dot Pohlman. So we were Yankees. They now call us damn Yankees because we came down and never left. So, and have made Memphis our home since 1962. A lot of fun. The whole family was involved in our church, came into the parochial school system, St. Louis Church, and played sports there, played all kinds of stuff. Upbringing with 7 boys, you're stuck with the last name. You can't hide from it forever. And Dad always made sure we understand you only have one last name, don't mess it up. So we've all done pretty well hiding our mistakes, but it's really been great. We hold each other accountable. Everybody contributes to their communities. Everybody's not in Memphis anymore. I've lost a couple of brothers and a few are out of town now, but they still call Memphis home. And we've got an upcoming, the remaining brothers, the 5 of us have an upcoming golf trip. So that's exciting. We still get together and have fun, all the kids and grandchildren now. And we're planning a family gathering somewhere, which I'm not quite sure how many. We tried to count, but it's getting up in the 60s, 70s of the immediate brothers, our children, and our grandchildren. So that's kind of cool. We are all orphans. Nobody has a parent left, which is kind of it makes you step back a little bit and say, man, what have I got left and what am I going to give back? So you talk about the things that we've done. We've all had our own little places where we give to. Some of the cool things that I have enjoyed is the mentoring in business, the coaching of little kids. Basketball was my passion, still is. I don't coach anymore, too old for that, except I now have a grandson playing. I wouldn't call it basketball, but they're out there doing something. They're too young for the game, and I don't have the patience to coach anything like that. But yeah, the giving back, and I had 2 of my grandchildren with me at the donut place, and some kid comes up to me, not a kid, a young man who had a kid with him. He says, "Coach Pohlman," tells me who he is. I said, "Fred, how you doing?" And he tells his daughter what fun it was when they were competing, and they had a great group. They had a good group, a lot of good athletes that we turned into a good basketball team. So, and he just talked about that, and that's been over 30 years ago. So this kid is now 40, I've been 44. And so he was a sixth, seventh grader. So yeah, it's pretty cool that people remember that you had a part in their life, and it's fun, and they appreciate it, and it was fun.
One of the things too, I mean, going back to your brothers, I've had a chance to meet, a few of them, and it's like all extremely nice and generous, and the tight-knit family, and all of that is when you look at how you grew up and creating those bonds, and then obviously the service to the community is a really just powerful through line for you and your family. Give me one family tradition when I mean, obviously the church is one of those, but when you look at, kind of looking back to your childhood and, maybe it's around the dinner table or a trip that you would take, what are one or two traditions that really put a smile on your face?
We laugh about, we always felt like growing up with my kids, I had to take them on a vacation. And then I had to remind folks that our vacation consisted of going up north to Cincinnati in the summer and camping out or not camping out, but you're staying in the basement of your cousin's house. And sometimes we had to be split up because they didn't have enough room. So it was all laying on the floor and doing whatever and playing baseball in the backyard and that kind of stuff. Traditions for my immediate family. My mom was awesome. She understood. I think she loved her daughter-in-laws more than she loved her kids. I still think that even in heaven, I think she prays harder for them or for us. So yeah, no, but she would always, she'd say the holidays or for your wives and let them be with their families. And we would have Thanksgiving the night before, which, on a Wednesday, we got together as a family, had a big meal at her house and hooted and hollered for a while, got home and got up the next morning and went to mass and then went to the in-laws' house. Same was true of Christmas. So that was to me, very forgiving. And I've carried on that tradition. Catherine and I, my wife, we have the Christmas Eve at our house. Everybody that's in town or comes in town gathers, and we have Santa Claus come. And now we got, I think somebody said 20-something little kids there. And it's really cool to see them light up just like our kids lit up when Santa came and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of tradition is cool. I hate to see that everybody doesn't get in town, but, they all have their own traditions now that they moved away. But pretty much everybody in town shows up, and it's a lot of fun.
Are there any sayings or, like when you think of your mother and father and what they would say to you as a child or, get in trouble or inspire you, one of the two, but it's like things that they would say over and over again that you're like, oh, come on. But now you start to say those same things or in other words, how are you turning into your mom or dad? How have you turned into them?
I have a hard time. My mom used to always say, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. I said, Mom, I'd never talk to anyone. I'd never speak. And that's true. And I think back privately, she would say some things that I can't believe they did this, but never in public and whatever. But my dad would always say, mean what you say and say what you mean. So some people say I will, I'm true. Painfully, no, how did they put that? Something to the effect of brutally honest. And I'll debate, if you don't think it's true, tell me, we'll agree to disagree, but, and laugh about it afterwards.
Where did your love of engineering start to surface? Because, when you talk about your career and engineering and even going to Christian Brothers, now university, talk about where the love of engineering starts to factor in.
Love is a strong term now. Growing up, everybody went into something different. We were all different. I was always very good at math and science, liked to tear things apart, build them back up as a kid. When I got into school, it wasn't a case of, oh, you're going to sit here like today. I said, let me find something I really like to do. Pick something. We did the aptitude test back then in the old days. And this is what you're good at. These three things, pick one. Okay. That narrowed it down pretty good. So I got into the engineering side, and then second 2.5 years in, I kind of hit a little academic probation, but I enjoyed doing a lot of things outside of the school, and had to work, had to do all that. And so I went to school full time and pretty much worked full time, anywhere from 25 to 40 hours a week. And you still had to go out and have fun with other folks. So I hit that stumbling block. I said, golly, do I really want to work this hard to get through? And then I talked to my dad, and he says, you're a year and a half out. I don't mind you being on probation. You lost your scholarship. I'm sure you'll pay me back one day. But I said, all right, I'll just finish and then go do what I want to do. So the engineering piece, my first job offer was a sales engineer for Westinghouse. I would be traveling, started out in Chicago, travel to a new city every 2 years all over the country. And then they just try to indoctrinate you into either a product line or an area or whatever, wherever you did well. And that's where you'd end up being. And I had met my wife right about the same time I got this offer. And we, how you know when you know. I met someone, okay, this is the one. I'm not leaving. I'm not ready to get married. We're not yet. So I went looking for a job in Memphis, and the consulting job, interviewed with 2 different places, got a call the same day from both places, but Pickering called first, and I told them I was coming, and the other one tried to lure me away with more money. I said, I already gave my word. So your word is what it is. So almost 46 years ago, I'm still stuck here. Nobody else will hire me.
Well, I mean, that in and of itself is a rare thing when you look at that sort of legacy with one company, literally like right out all the way through. We'll definitely talk about that here more in a second. When you look at Christian Brothers and that experience, Christian Brothers College, now Christian Brothers University, was there a mentor, a professor, someone either on campus or off campus that really, helped you kind of guide this path or light that fire or maybe open up some different perspectives?
It's really 2 people. Dr. Krupika, I guess he wasn't a doctor. He was a adjunct professor with his master's in engineering, and Dr. Brown, who is still on campus. I was over there for an engineering board meeting. He steps out of the elevator, and I go, right, shakes my hand, says, all right, give me your name again, that kind of stuff. But he was a young mechanical engineer at that time, and enjoyed all the good stuff. All of them, they had forgotten more about engineer than I ever retained. So, I knew where I stood. I graduated cum laude, and all my classmates were these brilliant folks, and I'm just, what am I doing here? So I just hung around, learned enough, got the degree, and I remind folks that, the world is full of B and C students that end up running businesses. So that was I have to remind my classmates of that too, and they remind me as well as they say, what am I doing with my patents now? They all have done product stuff and all that good stuff. So much smarter than me.
When you look at Pickering Firm then, coming in right out of college and, starting your career, how you explained Pickering Firm then versus Pickering Firm today, talk about Pickering Firm.
Well, Pickering Firm then, and I went into the energy management side. I used to go out and see buildings, see how they're operating, make recommendations on changing things, and with the HVAC systems, and work with an electrical engineer that looked at lighting and power systems and all that. And we would go out, and we got away from the office. When we come back, a lot of the people that were engineers had, ankle braces on their legs. I mean, just a ball and chain. You stayed at your desk, you got your 10 minutes off. Hope you got a good bladder. It was hard work, and it was a 9-10 hour day, and they had to produce a lot of stuff. The deal then, the ownership way back then were 2 guys that had put, or really 3 guys that had put everything they had on the line. All the money, they funded this thing. It needed to make money. It was all their call. So you had to respect that. You had to understand. But the piece I hated was about every Christmas time used to be work would die down. That's not the case anymore. And they'd be looking at stuff. How we're gonna fall in the red big time if we have to pay all these salaries, all this. So it became common that there were layoffs around Christmas time, which I hated. And I guess those first 4 or 5 years when I was working just every job that was, and we're coming up and becoming more of a project manager and getting the smarter or the better engineers and architects working with me to satisfy different clients. I just committed to them. Weekends are for family. I know sometimes we'll have to come in here on Saturday, but give me a good work ethic, Monday through Friday. And let's see if we can make a living at 45 hours a week. Cause we were doing 60 hours a week. That was like every week. So yeah. And I think we've changed that. And even to this day, there will be groups that have big projects that are due a short time frame, and they got to push it. We don't miss deadlines, and when they're done, they're done. I mean, we finish it, take a few, go easy at it the next couple of weeks or whatever. It's just, and they appreciate that. So just that work culture, and really you found if you focused on what you're doing, you can get a lot done in the time frame. If you get rid of the distractions, and we've kept that way. It's here in the last 10, 12, 15 years with this goofy iPhone and all the, there's too much distraction. And, we have rules in our meetings here in the office. If your cell phone goes off during the meeting, it's a $50 fine. Goes into our beer fund, which is needed. But it's, I notice it as I'm sitting on some other committees and how often people are just not focused on what the meeting at hand. I don't know whether they're talking about the meeting with somebody else that's not in the meeting. I don't know. I haven't called them out yet, but I'm about to. It'll get better.
Well, but to your point, though, when you minimize distractions and can focus on the task at hand, the results are so much more powerful. For you, so you served as CEO since 2002, and you look at even kind of, when you were talking about being a coach, right? Like working with people, that's something you enjoy and are very good at is being a coach. So when did the idea of serving as CEO start to enter the equation for you? When was that something early on? Was that something that they saw in you and said, hey, we want you to pursue this? When did that kind of switch flip for you saying, hey, I want to go from this role to pursuing CEO?
I don't think I ever pursued it. I went in from a energy management role to a not a team leader, but almost a general manager, a couple of teams. And this was before we broke out teams into types of work. This was mechanical group, electrical group, architects, civil engineers, structural engineers. It's just a little bit different. I was kind of overseeing all that and making sure schedules were met and all that kind of stuff, or attempted to make schedules get met. If you're not really in the process of controlling those people, it's hard to do. But from that, I took over a Walmart client or the Walmart client and built them up we did the first 33 Sam stores and then moved that into all the distribution centers. And that was a traveling job, had a crew of about 10, 12 people, and we were knocking it dead. Well, that grew to the industrial group, which I managed, did very well. We had some great clients. And I guess about 1998, we had an industrial and a institutional. The institutional did some hospital work in schools and that kind of stuff, and was run more by architects and than the engineering side. Our group was run by engineers and but we had architects, engineering type architects. So as we were doing better and better, profits were good, clients were growing. There's always a Peter, take people that are doing good at this job and move them to a one job that maybe they'll fail. Well, I'm not going to fail, but Don Smith had approached me in 98 and asked what I thought about coming in and working with Joe Emerson, who was my predecessor, and y'all run a team as Irv Weiss bails out and they bail out. And he says, but the key is, I'd like you to make enough money so that we get paid off. So that's when we started in ESOP, and all of his stock went into that. And before he could use it, that loan had to be paid back. So that was that challenge, and just another. And I was proud that we got that finished. I hated that Joe wasn't around very long. Colon cancer got him, and so I guess he was gone by 2002, and I took on both roles, the president and CEO role, that just title. We had a group that did the marketing, federal marketing and all that, so we kind of rolled that piece that Joe Emerson used to oversee into a different principal, so that worked out okay. And then from there, it was just trying to figure out what we were good at and get everybody's mind around that. Pick our clients. We don't want to be a commodity. I don't want to compete with every architect and engineering firm. We want to get the good clients that appreciate our work, have money, and are willing to give it up for a good service. And that's kind of where we got into the mode of doing more with less, which was getting more efficient. Don't mess around with silly stuff that we couldn't make money on, and just taking care of our clients, make them look good. It isn't for the pat on the back we get; it's the feeling that you get, and it is true. Whenever you mentor, you coach, and they do well, you just feel good inside. It's different. So that's why I'm not good at the accolade stuff and all that kind of stuff. I don't praise enough. I don't do any. Just did job great. Good job.
Yeah, that's the coach in you, though. That's it. So talk about the switch to being employee owned and a lesson that you learned, when you look back on that experience. What's something that you learned that either made you a better leader or a more empathetic leader, but what's something you learned during that process of becoming employee owned?
Man, you start talking about empathy. My wife always tells me, you don't have any. I keep telling her it's in a different suit pocket. So that's, and growing up the way I did, there wasn't a lot of, you just took it out with a fist and that's it. The ESOP piece and what people need to remember, when you get into a operation that is employee owned and you're able to make investments from the monies that they gave you and you have other folks around, the decisions you make better be good for everyone. You're not going to it's not a get rich quick. You're going to make a good living. You're going to see other people make a good living, and it feels good for that. They give back to their community, and you got to just be careful about the me, and the financial piece of all that. The company does well. Everybody does well, all the employees. So that's, and we tell them that there are going to be people that come in and think they're the super studs and should be paid $1 billion. Well, okay, put some money in the game and let's see what you got. When we started out, when I became a principal, it was a different game. It was I had a very small ownership, but even though I had a small ownership, I had my house on the line on the bank note. Didn't tell my wife that until we got real clear, but it was so that keeps you up at night, and especially when you have 4 children and you got that. So that was a big thing when we got everybody's house off the line, and we were financially stable, and an ESOP note that was all paid back in an ESOP account that had money, and we could continue to grow and not worry about the dips. They're always followed by a good spike.
I think that's an important thing though, and that's why I love this, is you get to see behind the scenes, right? Like some of the stressors and the struggles and, putting your house on the line for something you believe in, but that's the sacrifice. And a lot of times people just don't see that. They see you in the role, after all the trials and tribulations, but it's like, there was a point to get to this, in terms of where you are today, for all these things that you had to sacrifice to get there and the decisions you had to make. And so when you look at serving in this role and, now, 45 plus years, give me maybe one or two special memories, moments. And obviously that's impossible to pick, your favorite ones, but just the first ones that pop into your head when you look at, you know, working with an amazing team, doing some really impressive things. What are one or two things that just pop into your head first that put a smile on your face with Pickering Firm?
Well, I think and I'll give them a shout out, even FedEx Ground. We were a part of when they launched their new, forget how many or what they called it, but they had, we did 5, called it the Triton, I think, Triton centers, just all over the country. A consultant that they had used out of Pittsburgh, I went, me and 2 others went up to Pittsburgh and interviewed, gave them our story, pitch, all this kind of stuff, and here we go. Well, they liked it a lot. We did better than the firm they always use, but they weren't ready to totally commit. So they gave them half, they gave us half. Well, the first one that we started on, we got it finished. We were done. The other group wasn't even close, and moved on, and we did the second one and then the third one, and okay, you can do the fourth one. So we outshined the competition, and that was a start. And I'll never forget the guys that says, I don't know how y'all do it, but the work is very good. You pick, these things were all over the country and you just did them seamlessly. But a lot of that came with the experience that we got from Walmart and doing all this distribution work. You get to learn to go hire a local surveyor, go hire a local civil to do some of the front end work. Let them help you through the permit process. They do it for a living and in their community. And so let's take advantage of that. We don't need to relearn everything. So that's kind of the cool thing. And we're able to do that with AutoZone, 4 different locations across the country and their big warehouses. So it's been nice. So we like to pick those types of companies that'll drag us all over the country. People say, why are you still in Memphis? It's home, and it used to be a better place to be able to get in and out of, but it's still adequate now. Air travel's a little difficult everywhere. And Zoom has helped some, as much as I hate to say it. I'd like to be face-to-face with folks.
Well, it does make things like this a little easier, too, where we can record, video and audio and make it seamless. But this will switch us over into the community service and working with nonprofits, serving on boards, which is a huge part of your storyline as well. But when you talk about you as a coach, you serving in the community, how have those experiences made you a better leader for Pickering Firm? So when you look at, coaching and serving in the community, how has that made you a better leader for you and your team at Pickering Firm?
I think it's, everybody looks at what you do. You don't know whether they're watching or not. They look at what or listen to what you say. Did you mean it that, I'm very conscious of what I do in the not-for-profit arena. I see a lot of the groups that you do, and we've talked before about the city of Memphis has, I think, too many nonprofits. We've got a lot doing the same thing. They could merge and do so much more good, reducing their overhead and everything else. And one of the things, and I'll go back into coaching. My wife and I and Carl Flynn, a local ophthalmologist, and another coach over at Christ Methodist, we put on a basketball tournament, thinking my purpose was Buddy Carl Flynn was trying to recruit the better kids in the city to play for him in the summer. My purpose was to let's show the parochial league how far we are behind of all the others. Coaching's got to get better. and athletes got to be more committed and all that kind of stuff. Well, we ran that thing for about 10 years. We raised a lot of money for the mission trips for parochial school kids, and it ran through St. Louis. And we gave to other Christ Methodists, lend us your gym, we'll give you some money, make a donation to your programs. But it was all for the kids. And it was kind of funny that you go through this. I mean, you're working days and nights and all this kind of, you're recruiting people. Who knows how to schedule, games or, 100-something teams that we recruited. They're coming from Jackson, Tennessee, Jackson, Mississippi, outside of Little Rock, and coming into Memphis to play in this tournament somebody heard about. So a lot of word of mouth, a lot of cheap advertising in bulletins and in different church things. And that it just showed you how many, once you got a good purpose, the people will rally around you, whether it's in business, whether it's in a nonprofit, and you know that more than any, they'll help. And we recruit people, and I've turned that into, those people see the thing, the kids go, they got a smile on their face, you give them back. We made them work to be able to earn the money. Parents would give, we do all kinds of good stuff. And then they always come back. Yeah, whatever happened to that tournament? Well, you get tired of running some of those things from nobody else is going to take it on. Well, the group took it on, and it was too much work. They weren't recruiting more people. It was kind of a party. They lost focus of what we were doing, and I lost it. I mean, at the end of the day, I got kids that played, and I always told them, my message to them was, I'll get you to be a good enough player that you can decide when you're not going to play anymore, and you'll either see it, and you're not willing to do the hard work to get to the next level, or you'll decide it's not. I don't want a coach in high school or whatever telling you you're not good enough. And that was pretty much true of almost all my players.
When you talk about some of the nonprofits and the different roles you've played on boards over the years, once again, it's impossible to pick your favorites, but give me a couple that really, once again, put a smile on your face, warm your heart when you look at nonprofits doing amazing work, but your chance to be able to step in and pour in and be a part of that. What are a couple that, when you look back, really warm your heart?
Well, I know the first one that I got sucked into outside of church things was the ballet. Now, if you can imagine Dorothy Gunther Pugh, and we were building a facility. We did design build for them for their facility out in Cordova. And it was a cool thing, and Pitt Heights money was behind it, and somebody thought it'd be good for me to be on their board. And it was, okay, that was my first real experience. What are you looking for? You're just looking, you're on the board, so donate us a whole bunch of money, or am I on the board to get you better? And it was to get money. But and my downfall was I tried to get them better. I said, quit whining. They ran into a little tough row when they wanted to do something and couldn't get the audience for it. And I said, it's time for you to figure out what your market is and provide your market what they want. And then you can sell all the tickets you want. That's not the artistic, whatever. Okay. I know I'm in the wrong game. I don't get it. I know how to make money. I know how to satisfy clients, but I'm not a professional beggar. The other, I don't last long on nonprofits for that reason, but have really enjoyed what City Current has been able to do and get out. There are so many great ones, and we've gotten the team here. When we hit our 75th year, we put out something that a challenge to a bunch of groups here, 75 acts of kindness and whatever, and everybody got creative, from boxing up, which things at Food Bank and MIFA, the box the foods and all, and of course that had to become a contest. How long did it take? They tell you how many you need to, 150 cases. All right, so you're betting a little bit on the side who can do the most, the quickest, and all that kind of stuff. So that everything's a game around here. Life is a game. So who can one up whenever? It's so hard now, and I'll get on a soapbox here, the work-life balance. How much is work? How much is your family? Your family's very important. And then I always think you have to balance your family life between what you want to do activity-wise and what your kids need, what your wife needs, and all that. And you probably spend 1 billion hours and you fake it because you have a child that plays tennis. So, I got to go out and do tennis. Well, that's the way I was in the basketball. So, but it's trying to get them more involved in the community. I think a lot of them here are involved in their church, getting the younger ones involved in other things has been a challenge, but it's gotten easier once they get out there and do it a few times and start looking. Engineers typically are so introverted. All they look at is their iPad or their phone or their shoes. That's it. And to get them to look at somebody else's shoes and then maybe look somebody in the eye, it's a challenge, but it's fun, and they're all getting there.
Who has been a mentor for you when you look at in the community? Who do you turn to for guidance, for just another, an ear to listen? Who do you turn to?
Well, I came up through the Vistage, and before that it was Tech. So I got a lot of Jim Canfield was the first one, Ken Edmondson. But I've been very fortunate to have an oldest brother, Ray, who was very active in government, very active with AutoZone, with all kinds of charities. Are very challenging, when you're dealing with a quasi-government entity like the zoo and the parks and all that kind of stuff. It's a hard task to figure out which tree do you hug, how can you generate revenue? You can't let the tax basis pick up everything. We got to do something that's worthwhile that people will come and see. And they did a great job, and I've studied some of that. But on a business side, probably Canfield and Edmondson, and of course, it's funny that I've got two other business brothers, one in accounting and one was in food brokering, and I worked for the one food broker while in college. And I guess they taught me the money side, or I could go back to them and talk about the money side and stuff. And the raising family, we all had our same hurdles. I mean, when you're putting kids through private church education and stayed in the parochial system, and then they go off to college, you think you got a raise, but you still got to come up with that money. And so learning the business side and making sure you stayed focused and making enough to take care of your family. And that became two of my brothers, the business boys, because they were in the same boat. We'd all agonize over the same thing.
That is cool, though. You've got that sort of bond where you can talk about finances, faith, family, all this with your brothers. So service and good work, core values for Pickering Firm. Talk about the culture for Pickering Firm today, where you are in this moment, especially as you prepare for retirement. Where is Pickering Firm today?
I think we're the leaders in providing good work. We're not always the cheapest. And like I say, I do not want us to ever be a commodity. Let's do good work, something that make our clients look good, complete their projects when they need it done, and get paid. So that's the best client, somebody that has money, has a need for our services, and recognizes how good we are and is willing to pay for it in a timely manner.
Yeah, pay all the time. This will switch us over into our lightning round. But when you look at your legacy for Pickering Firm, and obviously, as you mentioned, you still got a few more months to go. But what do you hope that people say about you and what you were able to build, the culture, the team, the work, the good work, the results? Like when you look at that legacy, 45 plus years, what do you hope that people say about you and your legacy with Pickering Firm?
Well, that's a hard one. I hope that they'd say I was very fair, helpful, a good mentor, rewarded everyone in an equal manner. You worked hard, you did whatever, and you were rewarded. And somebody liked to have fun during the good times. Now, there were times when it wasn't so fun, and you had to put your foot down, and this is the way it's going to be. So I guess the other parts are integrity, very good, honest, ethics, which is a given in our family, and someone who gave back with not always as much treasure as some would have liked, but all the time and talent that they asked for. So that piece of giving back, I think, is very important. We many groups are just looking for the money, and you want to give them what you've learned in business, and that's that kind of wisdom, and hope it catches.
Let's switch it over to a lightning round. And so short questions, short answers, fun chance to get to know you better. Outside of basketball, what do you like to do to relax?
Relax. What did I do last night to relax? I was going to relax, got a call from one of my kids. Can you help with a plumbing problem? So I have a plumber now. I'm good at that. No, taking out and putting in new sinks. So that's, wasn't relaxing, and my knuckles are hurting. But other than that, going to kids, watching the kids play sports, for myself, playing golf, getting together with friends, having dinner, playing stupid games like Mexican trains and some sevens card game or whatever. It's just more about, that's on the co-ed side. When it gets just guys, it's a poker game. But golf and poker when we have other time.
What's a fun date night for you and your wife?
We didn't get to do it this year for Valentine's Day, but we used to, go for a lunch, leave the office, go see a movie, and then hang out or go out to dinner that night again. So you eat lunch and dinner. And, Friday night we went out with another couple to the comedy show that was down at FedEx Forum, which was awesome. That was great, well attended. So things like that. Catherine and I go to basketball games a lot. We do see kids stuff together, grandkids stuff. She's got her little group of friends. I've got mine. So it's healthy. You got to have a little time apart, together and apart.
Where's a favorite vacation spot for you and Catherine and the family? So outside of Memphis, where do you like to go?
We spend a lot of time down in Destin area, Gulf Shores, Destin, Blue Mountain. I sometimes get tired of that. So, last year we gathered all the kids and went to a different Destin. It was Punta Cana down in Dominican. So that was all the kids, young kids, and it was a lot of fun. But I really enjoy the mountains. We enjoy horse racing. Catherine's brother has some race horses, and we've gone all over the country. That's really fun.
Yeah, very cool. So when you have people coming to visit Memphis, where do you like to take them?
Depending on what's going on downtown, we do a lot down there on a business side, and they just think that the city is awesome. We go into the Midtown area, go into Overton Square and down south of there. And really, occasionally we get out towards Germantown, but not that often. They don't want to see the suburbs. They want to see, what do you got going here in Memphis? So, and I've taken a few, with the barbecue fest, you take them to something like that, and it's like, wow, even now that it's at the fairgrounds, it's still a cool venue and a great gathering place for everybody. So I think that's pretty neat. Not a lot of cities have the things that we do.
When you look at watching TV, watching movies, what's a recent TV show or a series or a movie that you've watched?
Well, I always like all the old comedies. I just like to laugh at you. You look at them, and then, of course, it gets bad that, God, he's dead. He's dead. Yeah. Guess who's next? But current shows, I don't watch a whole lot of that stuff. I watch the Grizzlies away basketball games. That's another thing that Catherine and I like to go to, the Grizzly games. Some Netflix deals. We watch a lot of documentaries now. I've just gotten to the point, I don't know, unless I've seen it with my own eyes, heard it with my own ears, I don't believe a lot of people anymore. I hope we get back to to telling the truth, not a truth. As Ray used to say, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. I think we've kind of gotten into that realm.
When you look at a quote, a saying, what's something that inspires you? You don't have to get it verbatim, but what's a favorite quote or a saying that inspires you?
Well, I live by what my dad says. Mean what you say what you mean. Another one that he said, I don't care what you do. You could be the president of a company. He was with Dover Elevator as a vice president. You can be the president of the company, be this, just be the best that you can be at that job. He didn't care whether you were picking up garbage, whether you were a lawn man, whether and that really affected every one of his kids, because none of us, only 3 of us have college degrees, and all were very successful in what they did. And that was, you stayed focused on be the best that you could be at that. There are no shortcuts.
How has Catherine made you better? So what's something you've learned from Catherine?
She dresses me, tells me what kicks me under the table when I'm being too blunt. No, she takes the edge off of me, and she does make me a kinder, gentler, more empathetic person. And she's just done a great job raising our kids and helping with the grandkids. I'm just fortunate now that I'm going to have the time to be by her side doing that, more things with the grandkids. I may be that grandfather at school working in the kitchen, slinging meat or slinging something, going around. Hey, you better eat all this stuff, How are you ever going to be able to do a push-up or a chin-up if you don't eat this stuff? So,
I love it.
And she's encouraged me to do more of that, so it's good.
So the last question is about your legacy, not just with Pickering Firm, but about it in the community. So you're creating it every single day, but many, many years from now, what do you hope that people say about Mike Pohlman and your efforts to make a difference in the community?
Jeremy, that's a hard one. I would hope that they said he was fun to work with. He made a difference, and I'm trying to make a big difference with MLGW right now. We're getting there. We've gotten much better. The power, though, has not gone out the last 2 snowstorms. So I attribute that all to Doug McGowan and his way to moving things forward and his commitment to service and good work. He's done a great job. So, yeah, maybe he just maybe being a fighter pilot, and that's what I should have been, as a fighter pilot. No, just going back to what I said before, just how fair, treated everybody with respect, called you out if you needed to be respected, and applauded you and on all your good work and good habits, and a promoter of giving back.
Well, I could see you as a fighter pilot. I could see you as like a Top Gun instructor. So, if if that is the next chapter, I can see it.
Can you get in there at 6'2.5"?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. You never know. Anything's possible. So where do we go to carry this conversation forward? So for those who want to learn more about Pickering Firm, where do they go? For those who just want to stay in touch with Mike Pohlman and, follow your journey, how do we stay in touch? Where do we go?
Well, you'll see me more, I guess, the next 2 years. I'm the chairman of MLGW's board. I also sit on the chair of the University of Memphis Herf College board, and I'm on the Christian Brothers University advisory board for the engineering school, Gadomski School of Engineering. I'm always around. You can see me anywhere. I think everybody in the country has my cell phone number based on the calls I get from would you like to buy? Yeah, I don't know. I almost was a, what do they call that? The landman. Some guy from Texas called me about, you want to invest in this? What? Where did you? I watched the show, but no, I don't want to be that. So I'll be around the city. I'm not leaving anytime soon. The kids are all gainfully employed, working out of Memphis. And I'm just here. You'll see my name pop up every once in a while, or see me out. Just call me out. Doesn't matter.
Well, Mike Pohlman, you are a change maker. It's been an amazing journey. I mean, I've known you and been working with you for almost 20 years now. So it's like when you look at all the amazing things you do with Pickering Firm, City Current, in our community in Memphis and the Mid-South. Thank you for all you've done and will continue to do as a change maker. So Mike Pohlman, thank you for being a change maker. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you do for our community as well. I appreciate it. If anybody wants to come to work, hurry up and get your engineering degree. We got lots of openings. www.pickeringfirm.com.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the Changemakers podcast. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.
Thank you for listening to the Changemakers podcast, produced by City Current and powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
To learn more, to listen to past episodes, and to share your stories of other changemakers who are making a difference, visit citycurrent.com or call 901-321-1020.
Follow the conversation online using the handle @CityCurrent or the hashtag #PowerTheGood.